I want to say all praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And I was just looking through Instagram today, and I just found this video, and I thought, I'd bring it to attention to whoever may be interested. And it's just what seems to be an Edomite, arguing with her parents, and I say seem, that could be a bugged out Jake, I don't know, but she raises some very interesting points, and I'll just play it for you to listen. Hopefully this is edifying.
No!
Yes, there's some that know it is good people.
No!
Most of them just want to suck off the system or do something bad like drugs or gangs, and that's all
they have been oppressed. They have not been given the same.
No, he's saying we wanna, take drugs and all of that stuff now, and we all know these curses been reversing themselves for a while. So it's actually been evident that white people, quote unquote white people, actually take more drugs than any other race of people. It just so happens that their arrest rates are not the same as so-called black people. And even the place where I'm working at the moment, there was an incident where one of the drivers actually hit an elderly woman, and when they did a blood test on him, he was smoking marijuana. Newsflash, he wasn't Jake, he wasn't a so-called black man, it was an Eastern European dude. So it's like that and the only reason why they found out he was taking drugs is because he actually hit somebody and they did a blood test on him. So it seems quite evident that they're willing to ignore their own faults while pointing the finger at us. And we all know this, they'll talk about black on black crime, but they're not going to talk about world wars and all the problems that they've caused in the world. They feel like they're doing people a favor. I'm just going to play it uninterrupted.
Opportunities you have had.
They do, and there's plenty of black.
No, they don't, Dad. And you not recognizing that as an issue is the reason why it's still continuing today.
I see them all over. There's all kinds of successful people that are of color. It doesn't matter what color, brown, white.
But it's a lot harder for them to get to that position.
It doesn't matter. When they do, they're fine. But there's always filthy ants.
No, I said I was going to stop, but do you hear what he said? It's like an acknowledgement that they know we go through things that they don't go through, because he said it doesn't matter, as long as they're successful, they're fine. So you realize there's a difference, and you realize it's a lot harder for us to reach the same level that you are at, and yet you still feel like the system operates with fairness and integrity. So these people are crazy, because what's the first thing what happens when you have an altercation with a so-called white person? They call the police on you. If the system was against you, you wouldn't be so adamant and quick to call the police. So it's like whenever they're talking, you can hear the slight acknowledgement that things are unfair, but they kind of wash it over with so-called statistics and so-called facts. And we all, as the elder Malcolm has said, their lie IQ, where they pretend to be intellectuals and high-thinking, people, and it's like all your actions prove the contrary.
You're calling people of color black animals. You're calling them animals. Are you kidding me?
You didn't let me finish.
That's not okay. No matter what, that's not okay. No matter what, it's not okay. Racism is not okay. Why do you think the racism is okay?
Oh, that's mine.
Really, I'm going to look at. No, I'm looking at statistics right now.
Your statistics can be warped. Statistics can be warped. You want me to show you videos? Do you want me to show you videos of cops? I will do it.
Why is statistics wrong?
Because they can be warped. I'm not giving statistics right now. They can be warped. Personal experiences can't.
No, because this is actually putting it into play.
Do I need to show you a bunch of videos of cops attacking protesters, peaceful protesters?
Listen to this. This is the number.
You mean I'm informed and educated?
You're not, though.
Yes, I am.
One-sided informed.
Yes.
Mom, I was watching political stuff and you said to turn that off because you don't want to hear about it.
Oh.
That means that I am educated on it and you are not.
I'm sick of hearing it.
The fact that you can have that ignorance for the majority is bliss.
Okay. So
Ignorance for the minority
I'm
is
looking at
destruction.
that are wrong. This is just pure wrong information out there.
Just give me the statistic.
In 2017, 457 white people were shot to death by the police in the United States.
Okay.
223 were black.
76% of the population is white. 13% is percent of the population is white. 13% is black.
I get that.
If they were being killed at the exact same rate by police officers, the rate of black people being killed would be 8.9. But it's not. It's 24%. The rate of white people being killed should be about where it is. So they're being killed at a higher rate. There's more white people, meaning that the amount of people killed by cops who are white would be higher.
The reaction of the person. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying it's.
They're tired of being treated
I'm
that
not
way.
saying it's right.
Good.
But if they started teaching them that this is the world that we live in, you don't want to be killed. Why do you think your friend's father taught him that?
His black son doesn't end up dead like Tamir Rice.
Because he doesn't want him to grow up with a chip on his shoulder that no police.
Black son to end up dead.
Exactly.
That's not okay. Why do you think that's okay?
Because
why is this something that you're okay with? Why is that a reality that you're okay with?
I'm okay with it.
Then you are.
No, I'm not.
So stand against it. So stand against it. If you're not okay with it, so stand against it.
Stand against it? When the black people in the ghetto stop carrying an illegal weapon. When the black people in the ghetto stop murdering each other.
I'll start caring about cops when they stop killing black people.
I'll start caring about black people when they stop killing cops. You can go back and forth forever, Healy.
No.
Yes.
No.
Now there's a scripture that I'm gonna paraphrase it. Do you know what? Let's look it up. Here we go. Ecclesiastes 4:13. What's going on here, man? That's why I prefer to use the King James Bible. You don't have them kind of problems. Ecclesiastes 4:13. Better is a poor and a wise child than an old and foolish king who will no more be admonished. So it's better to be young and to have wisdom, to be able to be rebuked and corrected and, you know, take the correction, than to be an old fool. And anyone who's in the truth understands, you know, when you have family members, people are older than you, and they think, you know, because you're young, they don't want to listen to what you're saying, even though you're clearly more informed on the subject matter than they are. Like she even admitted, you know, when I watch political programs and, you know, political entertainment or, you know, programming, whatever the word may be, her parents aren't interested in that. They're probably more interested in just watching, you know, the run-of-the-mill news, and they're not seeking alternative news sources. And we all know how corrupt the so-called media is. So, you know, you can see it right now where the woman of Edom, and she might not even be an Edomite, you know, because just because her father's bugged out don't mean nothing. I know plenty of Jakes who are bugged out in my family line, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really mean anything. I might be, I don't know, but I don't feel like I am. But it's just the fact of, you know, there's clearly division in Edom, you know, and it says here in Jeremiah 16:19, O Lord, my strength and my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. So, you know, that Haley has clearly realized that the things that she learned in school and the things that the mainstream media purport to be news isn't necessarily the truth. You know, she's being exposed to alternative news sources, and I don't know whether or not she had a friend, Jerome. I don't know whether or not she, you know, she likes black men or what. I don't want to be derogatory, but clearly she's exposed to more sources of information than her parents, and she's more willing and she has an open mind to look at that information, rather than a lot of people who are very closed-minded when they receive new information. And you know, you can't put new wine in old bottles. You have to completely wash yourself. You have to brainwash yourself when you come into this truth, because, you know, as the elders say, you know, we're brain dirty. We go through life and we hear all this information, we take it as fact, when really and truly it's anything but, you know. It says Isaiah 14:1, for the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So, you know, when righteousness comes back on the earth, people are going to realize that the Israelites are the righteous nation, and they have wisdom, and they have understanding, they have knowledge, and they have integrity, and they're fair. You know, we go off, but, you know, hopefully I'm counted to be one, you know, even if I'm not the elect. If you know, people do end up in the kingdom, you know, you're going to be more righteous than the nations, and the nations are going to cleave onto you, because they know they're going to be given a fair shake, rather than here you can work your arse off. Like he said, he's saying Jake's given an opportunity. The only ones that are given the opportunity are the ones that they feel safe around, you know, the ones who just do as they're told and don't really back talk and don't really look to understand what kind of society they live in. You know, Jakes who are earnest and research and read and try to be fair and are righteous and have a sense of morality and masculinity about themselves, they're hated by it. You could be the most peaceful person ever, you know, they're gonna hate you just by the fact that you're not going along with the program and being completely subservient to them. So for him to say some people are picked out, you know, I know people personally in the industry that I wanted to get into. Now I don't really care, but it's like he was given a lot of opportunities by white people, because he has a very, you know, I wouldn't say he's a pussy, but he has a very submissive spirit, in a sense of he's not willing to call things out as he sees it. You know what I mean? He's big, he's physically imposing, but he has the heart of a rabbit, basically. You know what I mean? There's no real salt in the way that he actually looks at things. I don't think and he's aware of how the system is, but he doesn't realize that they have allowed him to get through because he makes them feel comfortable. You know, somebody else with the same level of skill as him, who isn't willing to just take people's crap, that are not going to be accepted. You know, Jay-Z is successful because he's willing to do things a lot of people who are way more talented than him are not willing to do. And we see here in 2nd Esdras 15:16, and there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And, you know, this isn't necessarily to do with that, but you can see this is like a kindling of the flame that shall be, because this girl is not regarding what the mainstream media, the kings and the princes are saying, because, you know, their idea of giving you information and their point of view is that black people are lazy, so on and so forth. But she's actually looking into the reasons as to why we are considered lazy, not just taking it at face value. Now that in itself is going against their kings and their princes and what they claim that Jake is, you know what I mean? So it's pretty much the beginning of the end for this kingdom, because their people are not even falling for their philosophy and fornication anymore. And we see here in Luke 12:53, the father shall be divided against the son against the father, the mother against the daughter. Now this girl was against her mother and her father, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. So, you know, the people think the Lord is just all love, and they don't realize the Lord loves division and he loves order. And for you to have order, there needs to be a separation of responsibility, and, you know, how the leadership is basically run. Because, you know, somebody who, say you work in a supermarket and you fill shelves, you don't have the same, you know, authority in the store as a supervisor, and the supervisor doesn't have the same authority as a manager, and a manager doesn't have the same authority as, you know, the area manager and so on and so forth. You know, there's order to how things are done. You know, if I work and I stock shelves, I can't go and speak to the CEO, for example. There's always an order to things, and he likes to emulate it, but he likes to emulate it on the left side. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I like to say all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai.